Hi there. So in this video, I'll break down an omni-channel sales agent in N8N that we recently developed for a lead gen agency. This agent can answer questions, qualify leads, update the CRM, and book appointments with inbound leads from Facebook Messenger, Instagram DMs, WhatsApp, and lead forms. I've also updated it quickly with an MCP server to show you how MCP works, and I'll explain you why I think MCP will be a game changer in the long run for AI agents. By the end of this video, you should know how to build and set up an AI agent for all of these social media platforms and understand how MCP works. If you don't know me yet, I'm Ben. I run an AI agency since 2023. I also run a community where we help founders and business owners use AI and automation inside of their business. And if you want to work directly with me and my team, you can also book us in for a free call in the description below. So I'll break down this video into 3 sections. First, I'll show you a demo, then a breakdown of the system and the setup, and then lastly, I'll go over MCP quickly. You can see I've set up another agent here with the MCP server of Airtable. The template will also be available for free in the description below. And if you want a complete step-by-step breakdown and even get one-on-one tech help to maybe adjust this template to your specific use case, you can also check out my community in the description below. So very quickly, before showing you a demo, some context on the client we developed this for. This company is a lead gen agency that specializes in generating leads for the automotive industry through social media ads. Right, their clients include car repair shops, car painting shops, and some other car service businesses. And their offer to clients is basically to generate booked meetings with qualified leads in their calendar for their clients. Their main CTA leads to a website form, but as they run ads across Facebook and Instagram, they also get lots of inbound DMs on Instagram and Facebook. Manage more than 10 clients at the moment, and they were pretty overwhelmed with the amount of leads that contacted them through all of these channels and needed 5 full-time people just to qualify and book meetings with these leads, right, and manage these DMs. Our solution, which they can almost copy and paste now for each of their clients, although not perfect as AI agents still make mistakes, increase their follow-up time from sometimes a day or longer to instantly, of course. It increased their booked meetings by almost 50% and allowed for 4 of the 5 sales agents to be deployed on generating more leads instead of pure qualification and answering DMs. I know many talk about the error rates of AI agents, but I think this is a good example of a use case where despite AI agents still making some mistakes, right? For example, here, sometimes it gives some wrong information, sometimes it's not qualifying properly, but it still delivers extremely high ROI for the client compared to the existing state. I think especially for these high volume customer facing use cases, AI agents can definitely bring a high ROI for a lot of businesses. It also shows, I think, that existing agencies like lead gen agencies and marketing agencies that have very similar processes for multiple clients are in an ideal position to adopt AI and automation, as it can really entirely transform their business model by automating much of their service delivery, which I also show in my last video about our SEO solution. So let me show you a quick demo. Just as a disclaimer, I had to rebuild this system here for myself because, of course, I can't show the actual client one, but it's almost the same version. It has some limitations, but it gives you a good idea of what you can do with this setup. So let me first start with the lead form, which is this flow, lead form to WhatsApp conversation. So basically, as I said, the lead gen agency runs ads, and the main call to action is to the website where a lead can fill out a lead form to show interest. And then the lead gen agency basically wants to reach out through WhatsApp with the end goal of setting up a meeting, right? A consultation. Now, you might be wondering why not set up the meeting right away on the website? Because first of all, there's a little bit of a qualification process. The main qualification criteria is the car that the lead has actually a car that they provide services for. But second of all, they also notice that many leads actually need to have some questions answered before being willing to book in a call. Now, second question you might have is why not just send an email? Is because in their experience, a WhatsApp conversation leads to a way higher booking rate than just an email. And that probably has to do with open rates on WhatsApp, which are almost 98%. And also because you have sort of that conversational aspect. So I've set up a quick lead form here on Airtable as an example. So I'll just give you a quick example. So let's say a Tesla Model 3, that's one of the cars they actually provide services for. So if I click submit, soon I'll receive a WhatsApp message. As you can see, I got a WhatsApp message from the sales agent. Hi, Ben, thanks for reaching out on our website. I understand you have a Tesla Model 3 and are looking for window tint. Right, so now, of course, I can ask it some question. I can also send it a voice message. Yes, that is correct. Can you give me some more information on the benefits of window taint? Now, of course, it uses RAG in the background through Supabase to answer questions. Now, I've set up a pretty limited one for the example. Window taint offers several benefits. It reduces glare and eye strain, blocks UV rays, protecting your skin and car's interior, and keeps the car cooler by reducing heat. So let's ask one more question. Okay, perfect. What types of window taint do you have? We offer several types of window taint, each designed to meet. It's best to discuss options during a consultation. Uh, yes, let's schedule. Now, of course, it already has the information on scheduling a call, and it will use the calendar agent. Great. Do you have a preferred date and time? So yes, let's do this Friday at 11 a.m. I'm in Amsterdam. Now, in the back end, it uses the calendar agent to delegate this task to, who's then going to schedule in the meeting. As you can see here, we have the calendar agent. You're all set. You're windowed at 11 a.m. Amsterdam time. You'll receive a calendar invite. Right. You can see we have the window taint consultation booked in. And so just a very quick demo. I can show you also that it works on Facebook and Instagram. So for example, here we are on Instagram to again set up a quick demo account. So I can go, same thing. Hi there. How are you? All right. Hi there. I'm great. Thanks for asking. How can I assist you today? Interested in learning more about? Yes, I saw your ad and I'm interested in, let's say, paint protection. And now, of course, because I didn't fill out the lead form, but I can directly through Instagram DM, it will ask me for some information. Like, yes, my name is Sven, and my email is, just to let you know. Thanks. When you're available, again, right, let's say Saturday, 10 a.m. Yes. Great news, Ben. You're all set for paint production film consultation on Saturday, 10 a.m. So that's it. I can show you Facebook quickly. Same thing here. Hi there. How are you? I saw your ad and I'm interested in window taint. You can see we added in this thing too, that it looks like it's typing. Hi, great choice to book a consultation. Again, same thing. So you get the idea. It works on all channels. And I can see this agent actually has a CRM agent and a calendar agent because it will also update the CRM with the information of the lead, right? So like the card name, email, etc. And of course the calendar agent to book in or reschedule, which can also do reschedule meetings and to check for calendar availability. So I'll first give you a quick breakdown of the setup here. Then I'll show you how I set up the WhatsApp trigger and the WhatsApp outbound message, how I set up the Facebook trigger and the Instagram trigger. And then I'll show you quickly a demo of an MCP agent. So I basically use the same agent setup, but in this case, I used an MCP for Airtable, which is our CRM, instead of the CRM agent, just to show you how MCP works. And I'll also cover at the end of this video what I think MCP will mean for AI agents and for the future of AI agents. The template again is available for free in the link in the description below. So if you just want to copy and paste it, you can go ahead. And also if you want to have the full step-by-step breakdown of how you can set this up, or even one-on-one tech help to help you adjust it to your specific use case, you can also check out my community. So for this first part, we have connected it with a webhook to, in this case, the Airtable form. So basically this gets triggered as soon as the form is filled out. If you don't know, in Airtable, you have an option which is forms, where you can set up a form. And you have an option of automations, right? And here you can set up automations to basically trigger the webhook as soon as a form is filled out or something else happens in your Airtable. So in this case, the trigger is when a form is submitted. And to send over the data to the webhook in n8n, you need to use an action, which in this case is run a script. And you have to select the record ID, the table ID. Here you can add in the webhook URL, which n8n will generate for you, right? If you click here, you'll have the webhook ID, which you can fill out there. And then you need a small script here. I can add this into the free template too, so you know. And this script basically allows to trigger the webhook, right? And through this, basically the information will be sent to N8N. Now, the information that will be sent is the record ID. So to get the actual information from the record ID, so the information from the lead, we use a get record, and we can use that later to personalize the message in the WhatsApp message. Then we have create a contact, which basically we're creating a new lead inside of the CRM, which in this case is Airtable. So I can show you quickly here in data. We have the contacts where we add the new leads. So you can see this one was added, which was my form submission. And then lastly here, we have, of course, the WhatsApp message. Now, in this case, it's an outbound message because we are the one first initiating the conversation with the customer. So that means in WhatsApp Business, and I'm going to explain WhatsApp in more detail in a second, but when we want to initiate a conversation through WhatsApp Business, what we have to do in Meta is make a message template. Basically, Meta doesn't want us to spam people with random messages. So we have to sort of pre-approve a template in Meta to make sure we are able to actually start a conversation with that specific message. Now, usually these messages get accepted. And second of all, you can add in variables to actually personalize it. But I'll show you in a second how you set that up. But you can see here, we've personalized it with some variables. And that's it. Then, of course, we have the WhatsApp trigger here. Again, I'm going to show you this in detail in a second. But after the WhatsApp is triggered, we basically get the information from the Airtable, from the lead. So in this case, of course, we already have some information on the lead, like the name, the email, the car. So we get that information, so we can send that over to the agent, so it doesn't have to ask that again, basically, right? So that's all we do here. Then we check what kind of message it is. So in this case, it can handle text and audio. So if it's audio, we use these modules to actually download the audio, transcribe the audio, and then send it over to our agent. If it's text, we just send over the text. If it's any other message, in this case, we say to the user, sorry, we can't accept any images, etc. Right? But you can also add in paths for image interpretation, etc. So that's it for WhatsApp trigger. Now that, of course, is being sent to our AI agent, which has RAG through Supabase. Now, I'll not explain that in detail in this video because there's many videos on setting up RAG through Supabase. We have a Postgres chat memory, and we run it on GPT-4o. And then you can see this agent we have equipped with two sub-agents, which is the CRM agent and the calendar agent. And as you can see here, the CRM agent has access to multiple tools: create a contact, update opportunity, list records, get schema, and create opportunity. And for the other one, the calendar agent, you will see that he also has a few tools available: delete event, get events, update event, create event, and create event with attendee. So because there's quite a few sort of actions in this setup, that's why we've used two sub agents here instead of equipping this agent with all of these tools, which I think are around 10 different actions. Now, why do we do that? Because in general, especially for these customer facing agents, we don't want to overload this customer facing agent with too many things to do. Why is that? Because these customer facing agents, we really want to focus as much as possible, also in the prompting, on having a good conversation with the lead instead of overloading it with information on how to use tools, etc. In that case, we can get this agent a little bit more reliable and a bit better in terms of performance when communicating with leads. And then we leave over all the small little actions and details to the sub agents in the CRM agent and the calendar agent. So that's why we set it up like this. Now, I'll show you in a second the alternative, which is with MCPs. Now, from here, depending on where this conversation was triggered from, we send a WhatsApp message back, or a Facebook message back, or an Instagram message back. Now, for the Facebook and Instagram, you can see we also set it up through a webhook, which I'm going to show you in a second how to do this with Facebook and Instagram. From there, we have to respond to the webhook to Facebook. Otherwise, it will keep sending messages. But again, I'm going to send that in a second. This module is basically that it looks like when you are waiting for the message to come back that the agent is typing. It's just that little sort of widget there. And for Instagram, the setup is very similar to Facebook. So that's it very quickly, the breakdown of this setup. Again, if you want to look at everything in detail, also the prompts, etc., make sure to download the free template. Let me show you how to set up these three triggers. So to connect WhatsApp to your AI agents here in N8N, it's important to understand that I use the official WhatsApp Business API. Now, in order to get the official WhatsApp Business API, it's important to understand that, first of all, you do need an actual business because you need to be Meta officially verified to be able to set that up. And second of all, the process can be a bit tedious. I've made a video before, which I'll make sure to link up here, where I explain in detail and step by step how to set up the official WhatsApp business API. It's going to be at the end of the video that I link up here. So if you haven't done that and you are interested in setting up or connecting WhatsApp to your AI agents here in N8N, then I'll highly recommend to check out that video where I explain it step by step. Now, if you don't have a business maybe, or you want to go the other route, there is a second route, which is through sort of third-party softwares, and it's sort of more the hacky way of automating WhatsApp, because of course it's not officially done by Meta. And there are some third-party softwares available where you can basically connect your personal WhatsApp number and connect it through an API to these no-code softwares. Now, there are few available. The one I recommend is to use Unipal. And Unipal basically allows you to connect your personal WhatsApp number through an API in N8N, for example. Now, they don't have a native integration, but you can see here you have WhatsApp. So I'm not going to go over this in this video, but you can set up your personal WhatsApp automation here through Unipal. Now, I'll assume for this video, for the rest of this video, that you've actually set up the official WhatsApp business API. If you're not interested in WhatsApp, you can also go down below and go to Facebook or Instagram if that's the channel you want to launch your agent on. But I'll assume for now you've set it up in WhatsApp Business. Now, how do you connect this trigger, first of all? Because if you've done it maybe on Make.com or another platform, it is a bit different here in N8N. So what you'll have to do here is set up a WhatsApp zero auth account, right? So to be able to do the trigger, which is a separate node, right, in N8N, which you can find here. Right, you can see triggers, right, and you can go here on messages. That would be the node you need for the trigger, and then you have to set up here the client ID and the client secret, which is different than in Make.com or in other platforms. So where do you find this client ID and client secret? Again, I assume you already know the developer.facebook.com. If you're inside of your app, where you go is here in app settings. You can go to basic, and here you find your app ID and your app secret. So the app ID is going to be here, your client ID, and the app secret is going to be the client secret. That's how you can connect this WhatsApp trigger, which is a different setup than the other modules. For example, the send message module in WhatsApp, which I'll show you in a second. So that's how you set up that trigger. Now, important also in WhatsApp, you'll see here that you get two webhook URLs. So you get the test URL and the production URL. So what you'll see is if you have your scenario deactivated, automatically, basically they will use the test URL, right? And if you put it on active, they use the production URL. So what you'll see is you run into errors. If you keep this on active and then you click here on test workflow, it will not work because basically, because it's active, it will use the production one, but because we're testing here, it will actually use internally here in N8N the testing one, so it won't match, right? So if you want to test this, you'd have to deactivate it and then test workflow, and then it will use the test webhook, or you have to just activate it and actually try it out like that to use the production. Now, to finish off WhatsApp here, of course, we also have different nodes for downloading medias, which I'm doing here to download the actual audio, right? So you have a special module in WhatsApp to download medias, basically. All right, you can see download media. It's a separate one, right? And there I basically use an HTTP request to actually download the file afterwards, right? Then I use Whisper here to actually transcribe the audio. So that's how that one works. And for the outbound message, I don't know why I added this one. For the outbound message here, you need another different one because it's an outbound message. We actually need this one, WhatsApp Business Cloud, and then we need the send template. You see there's two different ones. There's the send message and the send template. Now it's very important, if you are the one initiating the conversation, you have to use the send template because this one will give you an error. Because again, we can't send outbound messages without templates. So in this case, I used here the send template. And here you'll see that I have the template here, which is a list. Now, how do you make these templates? Again, you can go back to your developers.facebook, to your app, right? Which again, assume you've already set up. Now, from there, you want to go to the WhatsApp manager, which you can go through here. So if I click there, we go here to your business portfolio. And from here, you can request a message template. So you can create a template here, right? Then you can decide what kind of message. Now, in general, you have to use marketing. In my experience, generally you have to use custom, and here you can make your template, right? So you can just give it a name. So it's an inbound lead message, right? This we can leave on number, doesn't matter. And here we can write our message, right? So in this case, I can write something like, hi, name, right? Thanks for reaching out. I saw you have, right? And again, I can use the variable like the car I saw you have and are looking for, and then we can add in the services, for example. So all we have to do is use the curly brackets, and then we'll have variables which you can then fill out inside of an ADN, right? So that's all you need. And then from here, what am I forgetting? Here you have to just fill in an example. So Meta knows, okay, what are you actually going to send in a real world scenario in those variables? So let's say, right? And then you can just click submit for review. And normally in 3 seconds, this will be accepted. And once it's accepted, it will appear inside of your N8N node. So you can use it as an outbound message for WhatsApp, right? So that's it. Then it will appear here, right? It will take a few minutes probably. So that's it. And then you can just define the variables here. 1, 2, 3, basically. So that's it for the outbound message. And then for just responding, right? So in this case, for this module, we know that the customer initiated the conversation. So we don't need to send a template. We can just use the send message. And in the send message one, we have the flexibility to send whatever we want, right? So we can let our AI agent decide what to send back. So in this case, we use the other node, which is the send message, right? And the send message, you have a lot more flexibility. You can send any message. So that's how we set up WhatsApp here in N8N. Again, if you want to know the exact details in the step-by-step, make sure to check out my other video. So for Facebook and Instagram, it's a bit easier because we don't need an official Meta verified business account. So it's a bit easier to set up. So I'll show you step by step. So first you go to developers.facebook.com. Now, if you're not logged in yet, just can log in with your normal Facebook account. Now I'm already logged in here. So already here, I'm in my apps. Now, you most likely don't have any apps yet, so you can create an app here. You click create app. You can call it whatever you want. Then here in use cases, you click other. Then you select business. And here you have to select your business portfolio. You can also do it later, but it's basically you need to create sort of a business Facebook account. Now it's quite easy to do if you don't have it yet. So you create the app. Now you've created the app, and from here you can add products to your app. So it's actually the same setup for WhatsApp, right? But with WhatsApp, you have an extra step of actually verifying the business, right? But for now, I'm going to focus on Messenger and Instagram. So let's say we first do Instagram. All we do is we click here on setup. And here we basically need to do three main things. First, we have to connect it to our Instagram account, where we want to connect our AI agent to, of course. Now that has to be a professional or a business Instagram account. You can normally pretty easily change a normal account to a business account to be able to connect it here. Now mine, of course, is already connected, so I can't connect it again. But you can just log in here basically and you set up the connection. And then the second thing, of course, is we have to configure the webhooks from our N8N scenario. So let me just switch to the one that I already set up so I can show you how this works. So here, if I go in Instagram, you can see these two steps are already set up with me. So basically here, this one is already connected. And then we're going to configure the webhooks. Right now, before doing this, what we need to do is switch this to live, right? The app mode should be on live. Now, what you'll see is if you do this, it will probably not let you put it on live because you need to add in a privacy policy link of your website, right? That's just a sort of a requirement from Meta to be able to put your app live. Now, with WhatsApp, for example, you need to have an officially verified business, but with Instagram and Messenger, you don't. All you need is to add in a privacy link. Now, I haven't tried this, and don't take this from me, but I'm pretty sure you can just put a privacy link of a website that's not even yours. But the best option probably is just create a privacy policy on ChatGPT, add it to your website quickly if you have it on an easy website like Webflow or Framer, etc., and put in that link and it'll be accepted, right? So once you've done that and it's on live, then you can set up the webhook. Right now, how do you do this? I'm just going to show you a new scenario here, so I can show you step by step how we're going to set this up. So you go to webhook. Right now, we need to go here in settings and select allow multiple HTTP methods. Then we do get and post. And here with respond, we go using respond to webhook node. All right, now we're going to use the get first. And we select the respond to webhook. Now we have to respond with a specific text to verify the webhook, but we need a variable. So first we need to test the workflow. Actually, first we need to copy this test webhook. Right, we click on test the workflow. Then we go back there. We add in that webhook here. Now for the verified token, we can decide whatever we want. All right, you can put in whatever you want here. And if we click verify and save, it won't work, but you'll see that it ran. And now we get the data to actually fill it out here. So in the response body, what we're going to select here is the hub challenge. And that's basically what we're going to send back in the webhook response so that Meta can verify that the webhook works, basically. All right, so we click save, we test the workflow again, and now it should work. And you can see now it works. Now, of course, we've generated now a test webhook. So if we actually want to publish this, what we have to do is take the other webhook, which is the production URL. Now we copy this one. We add it in here. Again, here we can decide whatever we want. And if our app now is live, it is live. It should now work with the real webhook, right? Because of course we need the real one, not the test one. You can see it's verified. And now you've set up the webhook. Now, important here in the webhook fields, you only want to be subscribed to messages. Otherwise, it's going to be triggered with other ones too, right? So now we've set up the webhook successfully. Now what we need to do is also set up a post with the webhook response, because we always need to have that webhook response. Otherwise, Meta or Instagram will keep sending us the same message time after time if it doesn't receive a webhook response. So we always have to add in the webhook response, because the post one basically gets triggered as soon as a message gets sent, right? This get is just for the verification of the webhook. So we click response here. We use text, and then here we simply add event underscore received. And this is just for the flow to actually work, right? Otherwise, it's going to keep sending the same messages because it'll never receive a webhook response. And here at the post, we're going to add in our workflow. Now go back to the original one just to show you what the follow-up steps are. You can see we have one more node here. And what happens is every time someone sends a message on Instagram, you'll get two different ones, which is one is an echo and one is a non-echo. And the echo is basically a message from like the admin, but we don't want to process those. So that's why we have a quick check here. You can literally use this same variable and this condition to make sure that you only process the right ones, right? So that's all this one does. And then of course it sends it to the agent. Now for Facebook, it's a very similar process as Instagram. It's almost the same. As you can see, the flow here is almost identical. So the process will be very similar as the Instagram one. So if you go here to Messenger setup. And then here you have to configure the webhooks and generate an access token and connect it to your Facebook page. So that's it. Very similar setup. I think that explains it. If you want a more detailed step-by-step or help if you're getting into any issues, you can always check out my community. Now to set up the responses for Facebook and Instagram, first of all, here we have the switch, of course, where we basically just check what the trigger is. And based on what the trigger is, we route it to the right sort of response API. Now, WhatsApp already explained. So for Facebook, we use the Facebook Graph API to send messages back to the user. So you do have a node here, which is a Facebook Graph API. And the way you set this up is, first of all, you have to add your credentials. Now, you'll see here that it asks for an access token. Now, where do you find this? And this one is specifically for Facebook Messenger. Again, you go to your apps. And here, if you're in the Messenger API settings, here you can generate your access token just simply by connecting to your Facebook page. There you'll generate your access token. You copy that, and then you can add it here. And then you've set up the authorization. And then you can basically copy this setup here that I've already done. You need the host URL default, a post method, the v21.0, and the query parameters are basically the recipient, the ID, which is just to identify the ID of the conversation, which you can pass over from the variables from the Facebook trigger, and the message, of course, which you pass on from the agent. So you can basically copy this. The important thing is the credentials. Now for Instagram, it's a little bit different, and we don't have a built-in node here in N8N, so we use an HTTP request. So in this case, we need to use method post. Again, you can copy this, right? The URL or the endpoint is instagram.com/me/messages. And in this case, we need the authentication to go with generic credential type. For the auth type, we go header auth. And then we go in the header auth, we set up the authorization. So in here, we choose authorization. And in the value here, again, we can go back to the setup here, and we go to the Instagram. And here you can simply set up your token. If you've connected your Instagram account, if you click here, you can generate your token, and this will be the one that you copy and paste and add in here. That's how you set up the authorization. And then again, you can copy this JSON here to send a message back. It's very similar to the one in Facebook. So that's it for sending messages back. Now, lastly, let me explain MCPs quickly. If you haven't heard of it, which is unlikely if you've been on the internet for the last weeks, MCP is Model Context Protocol. It's being developed by Claude, Anthropic. And basically, it's such a game changer because it can potentially really change the way we use AI agents, and they can potentially become a lot easier to build, and they'll have a lot more capabilities in the near future with MCPs. Now, the way it works, I recreated it here because I think it's a good example. So if I, for example, connect this one, in this AI agent, you can see that we connected the CRM agent, which in this case is the Airtable. And that CRM agent, of course, has different tools, right? So you can see we have different tools here: create a contact, update opportunity, list record, get schema, and create opportunity. So at the moment, we have to set up all of these tools separately, right? And have to make a specific API call to each of these different functions or actions inside of a software. Now, the thing with MCP is we don't need to do this and set up each of these different actions or tools separately anymore. With MCP, we can now just list an Airtable, in this case, MCP server. And you can see here, for example, Airtable list tool. And what this tool basically does, and I can show you an example, is it basically already has all the tools and all the functions that are available in Airtable, in the Airtable API, already in this one node. And if we call this, what will happen is basically it will list all the different tools in Airtable to the agent, and the agent can then decide which one to use, where we have a second one here, which is execute tool. So basically, instead of having each API call or tool or action separately and us having to hard code in how to use it for the agent has all the tools and all the functions, all the specific software already available. He can just decide which one to use and execute those ones. So if I show a quick example here and I go, hi there, I'm looking for window thing. All right, can I book a consultation? So could you please provide your first name and the email? You can see that it already automatically now identified to use the create record. Right in this AI agent, it can basically just list and check which tools are available in Airtable and automatically identify that it has to use the create a record tool, and it already got the information too on what parameters or what specific information this tool or API call needs, right? So you can imagine, instead of us having to set up this whole agent with all these separate tools, now we can just list an MCP server to do all of this for us, right? Which can potentially really revolutionize the way we work with agents. Now, what does this mean for building AI agents and the future of AI agents? I just made a quick diagram here. So traditionally, the way we made AI agents is, if we have our AI agent here, we have our input and the output. And if we want to give it tools or actions to take in different softwares, we just list out each API call or each tool separate, right? And we have to add in each of these separately. So in this case, let's say a create calendar event tool, a get calendar event tool, update a calendar event tool, a CRM tool to add contacts, to update contacts and get contacts. Now, the issues with this setup, first of all, that we have to set up each of these API calls or functions ourselves, right? So it takes quite a while if we actually have multiple sort of actions or tools inside of an agent. Second, we also have to instruct this agent quite clearly on how to use these tools, when to use these tools. And when you have multiple tools, it can become quite some work to instruct the agent well on when to use which tool. And lastly, the biggest issue is, if we really want our agent to have many capabilities and many different tools, then our agents can get confused. So for example, in general, what I see is when we use more than 10 tools or a lot of different functions and actions, agents can get confused very quickly with too many tools. We have to instruct all of these different tool usage in the agent prompt. And in general, it just becomes very unreliable if we work with many different tools inside of an agent. So the way we've been trying to resolve that is through multi-agent systems, which I showed in this specific case too. So if we want to limit down that responsibility to the main agent, for example, in this setup I just showed, we can also do a multi-agent system where we have a sub-agent, which in this case is a calendar agent, who we give all the different APIs or tool calls instead of directly to the agent. Now, why do we do this? Basically to transfer the complexity of using all of these tools to the sub-agent instead of the main agent, right? And we do that the same for the CRM agent, because in this case, let's say we have this customer-facing agent. The best thing is to focus the responsibility for this main agent mostly on the conversation this agent has with the user, not confuse him with all the tools he has to use, when to use them, etc. So in this case, we just give them to sub-agents where he can just pass in information, and these sub-agents can sort of figure out what the best tool to call is. We can give these sub-agents extra information. So it can resolve a little bit of the issue if we have many tools or APIs available. This can sort of improve the reliability of the system because we hand over responsibilities to these sub-agents. Now, we still have to set up all of these API calls manually, and we also, of course, need to instruct each of these agents now with what to do, when to use it, etc. So there is still limitations, and it takes time to build these systems like this. Now, what's going to be the case with MCP? Instead of us having to hard code in each API call separately, we can just connect it to an MCP server. And let's say we have a Google Calendar MCP. This Google Calendar MCP can already do all the possible actions inside of the Google Calendar without us having to manually set that up, right? So that can really be a game changer. And the same for, let's say, a CRM or this Airtable MCP. This will have all the actions and functions available inside of Airtable, right? As soon as it calls the MCP, the list tools function, right? The agent gets back all the possible tools it can use, and it can then just decide which one to use to perform the action. So this, of course, resolves a lot of the issues of hard coding in each of these different functions or API calls. Now, at the moment, the limitation is we still need to have it self-hosted. The setup can be a bit tricky and time-consuming. I'll do another video on exactly how you can set this all up. And MCPs are still under development, right? We are still in the early stages of MCP development. They still not work perfectly, all of them. But soon, of course, these systems will get better. And the potential of this, of course, is limitless, because now we also have Compass MCPs, and Compass MCPs is basically an overarching MCP that can target the best MCP for the specific action in this conversation. So you can imagine a Compass MCP can literally have hundreds or infinite amount of softwares and possibilities connected to it. So in that case, we'll have an AI agent that can almost perform infinite amount of actions across all different kinds of softwares. We can use almost any scraper, we can use any database, we can use any software we use. We can even use LLMs or no-code automation softwares as MCPs. So the possibilities for our AI agent with a setup like these are almost infinite, the amount of actions it can take. So the potential, of course, is that our AI agents can perform almost any action across the internet or our tech stacks simply with one AI agent. Again, we are still early, but the interesting thing is that, of course, Claude, this is already available in Claude, connecting it to MCPs, and ChatGPT will soon come with this too. So potentially, of course, everyone in the world who just has a ChatGPT subscription can potentially take any action across all of these MCPs and all of these softwares just through ChatGPT or the Claude interface. And what I predict in the long run, and we are far from that, is that everyone will have their personal assistant that can basically take any action across their entire tech stack. Even on their phone, they can take any actions on their apps, on their phones, and we'll just have sort of that personal assistant that can interact with softwares for you, right? And I predict businesses will have the same thing, very similar to, I think, this setup of my AI agent here, but of course far more complex, where a business, of course, can have an AI agent deployed that has access to all their internal softwares, their databases, etc. And customers can reach out, and this AI agent can basically perform any action on behalf of the company towards a customer. So I can imagine a future where we literally have personal assistants on the consumer side that are interacting directly with sort of assistants from the business side to do things for each other. Now, another really interesting use case, I think, is these no-code platforms like N8N, Make.com, and Zapier, which has already launched their MCP, also have MCPs available. So we can also call all of our workflows through an AI agent. So if we set up sort of this logic-based workflow already in N8N or Make.com or Zapier, we can just call them through an AI agent. He can decide which workflow to call, and we can automate a process like that. Now, you might be wondering, where's this heading and where are we at the moment? Now, first of all, we are really early in the development of MCPs. They are far from perfect yet. We can't really automate complex workflows with these systems quite yet. And I think in the short to midterm, what's going to be really important is, first of all, customizing these MCPs to specific use cases. That's where I see quite a big opportunity, because you can imagine that a CRM for a specific company or a specific use case requires a lot of context to know how to use that CRM for a specific business or specific use case. So generic MCP is going to be probably hard to use for a very specific sort of process or use case or business use case. So I think customizing these MCPs in the short term is going to be really important for specific business use cases, businesses, and even consumers. Second of all, MCPs will need a lot of development still. And I also think that there's still a place for workflow automation or traditional logic-based automation, because you can imagine maybe if we're at this point where our agent, we can just say, look, get me 500 leads according to my ICP. You can use all of these scrapers, go through the internet, etc., to find you these leads. But if you want to actually send an outreach message, if you just let an AI agent write an outreach message, it usually is not great yet, right? So there's still going to be, I think, a place for workflow automation where we can build in these guardrails to have a more established flow that actually executes on a more defined workflow and copy. For example, in this case, where we had a template of a type of outreach message he should send instead of an AI agent coming up with it from zero. So I think there's a future too where we really combine these AI agents with deterministic workflow automations, which our agent, of course, can call to. So in that case, we can say, hey, now reach out to all of these leads through email. And then he can call, for example, and then workflow that researches the lead, personalizes the email, and actually sends the email. And in the personalization of the email, we have already built in the guardrails on how to actually write this message properly. Anyway, this is just my take. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I will do more videos on MCP very soon, and also show you step by step how to actually set this up. Now, this is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you got any value out of it, I highly appreciate a like and a subscribe. And thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.